in front of you is an article that was sent to me by the Elder Kazak down in the Mississippi camp. It says your future passport won't be a passport at all. And this is important because everything that you see happening, and this is May 15, 2019, which is actually today, right? Yep, it's actually today. And pretty much it's very important because this new passport that they'll be having, it'll get rid of all of that paper. You know, just like one time you used to get whenever you would board a flight or whenever you would book a flight, you would always get paper when you got there to confirm your flight, and you would hand those papers to the a flight attendant, and they will check you in that way. Now that's no longer the case. Now everything is done through your phone, you know, through confirmations. You know, so this thing here, what they're doing is they're passing this as a matter of convenience, using, as you see on your screen there, the biometric pass. You know, and all of this, what it's doing, it's pretty much it's making the way for the mark of the beast. You know, because everything will be on those chips. You know, all of your information. You know, so definitely let's go into it. I'm just gonna play the video, and if the spirit allows it, from time to time I'll stop and comment on it. But this is very important news. And the other article I have, which we'll get into, is going into the Real ID Act, and we'll get into that, Lord's will. So let's roll the footage.
Well, travel season is ramping up, and with that comes long wait times at the airport.
But one company is allowing you to bypass the security lines for your biometric data.
CBS 2's Chris Holmstrom joins us live now from LAX to explain. Chris.
Pat and Jeff, it is 11:15 at night. As you can see behind me, traffic is bumper to bumper here. But take a look inside the airport. There's also long lines inside there as well. But what if I told you you could bypass TSA security lines? Well, there's a company for that. There's no denying LAX is one of the world's busiest airports. Nearly 90 million passengers each year. With that comes long lines, especially with TSA security. Or maybe not.
Clear saves you time at the airport by allowing you to speed through security lines.
But what exactly is Clear?
And notice the company's name is Clear. You know, like they say, all clear. You know, so in other words, this individual is clear. You know, I mean, I know it goes into, you know, clear for boarding, but, you know, it's clear that this person, this individual, is playing by the rules too, you know, when you look at it spiritually.
A biometric identity company that uses your fingerprints or irises to get through the security process.
See, fingerprints and irises, because with the fingerprints and irises, you know, it's less likely that you can forge, you know, a passport or anything like that, because, and then that way, when by using this technology, your biometric makeup of your face, your eyes, your fingerprints is all in a database. So where if you're trying, you know, if you're you know, if you're just wanted, you know, let's say for instance, or let's say that you pose a threat because of you, like Julian Assange, you expose, you know, stuff that they do, or you teach the truth, then it'll be easier for them to track you.
Here's how it works. First, you scan your boarding pass, then either your fingers or your eyes.
Place into your eyes.
Once you are clear, you bypass the ID line and go directly to the next security checkpoint.
You see?
Howard Cass, the company's executive vice
what he
president.
said? He said you bypass that waiting line, and it's all posed to people as a matter of convenience, and that's what they're doing. You know, they're pushing it as a matter of convenience, and the average American, especially, I mean the world, but especially here in America, it's all about fast service, quick service. You know, this is why you have instant everything. You know, instant coffee. You know, you come home from work, you don't feel like cooking. You know, you go to the restaurant and buy something, or you pop in a TV dinner, which that shit is death on a platter. But they work good though. You know, you pop in a TV dinner, you know, or some other form of processed food, you know, to cut on time. So everything is about convenience and cutting on time, you know, and that's that's how they always present it. And it's a thing of what they call gradualism. And Lord's will, we know we'll hit a few points on gradualism.
Allows you to know with certainty that you're going to get into the security screening process in a really short period of time.
See,
is currently in
it's all about convenience and time. All right, let's go back.
28 major U.S. airports and growing. This couple from Arizona has mixed reactions to it.
I think it's pretty cool that they can just scan your eyes, fingerprints, and you just go right on through.
See, now notice that was a woman, the Edomite woman, and that's the consensus of most women. The majority of women think just like her, and the average American think just like her. But now what he's about to say, you know, is makes sense, you know. But they will look at him and they would probably deem him to be a terrorist or a person of interest based off what he's saying.
I don't trust a private company having that much of my identifiable information. You know, what are they going to do with it, and how secure is it really?
And it's true, because you know you have Facebook, you have all these other different social media that have people's information, and what are they doing? They're selling it off to different marketing places. You know, this is why they're able to track you. Part of the reason why they're able to track you. Part of the reason why they know what you're buying. You know, and this is another reason why when you go to certain supermarkets or different places, they have that savings card, you know, that you get, so that they can keep track of what you buy. You know, it's all a matter of convenience. Okay, you can save this, you can save on that. It's convenient. You move to the line quicker, because at the end of the day, what Esau doesn't come straight out and tell you what he's gonna do. He does it in a serpentine type of way. Matter of fact, let's get real quick. Isaiah 55. I'm sorry, not Isaiah 55, Psalms 55. I always get those two mixed up. Psalms 55, and I'll just go straight to the point. 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. You know, so this is what they'll portray themselves as, this, because you got to remember, we're dealing with a snake. We're dealing with the serpent. And what did the Lord say about the serpent? And, you know, people that don't have any understanding, they're thinking this is an actual snake standing wrapped around a tree, talking to the Eve, going, you know, has the Lord said, you know? No, this was an actual man that was called the serpent. All right. Matter of fact, what does that word? I'm sure we looked it up before. We have looked it up, but I want to see what it says. Nakash. Serpent, snake, serpent, image of serpent, fleeing serpent, mythological. All right, doesn't really mention anything here. But when you actually look up the word serpent in the dictionary, watch, which we've done this before. What does it say? Serpent, a large snake, a sly or treacherous person, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. And that's what this devil did right here. So this was the spirit of an Edomite, the spirit of Cain in this individual before Cain was born, before Esau was born. All right. So it says, now the serpent, which was an actual man, was more subtle than any beast of the field. Now let's look up this word subtle. The word is irawam. It says subtle, shrewd, crafty, sly, sensible, crafty, shrewd, sensible, prudent. So they're wise, but they're wise what? On the left-hand side. And what do the scriptures say about that wisdom? Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus. I believe it's chapter 19 and verse 22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, but this is the wisdom that they come with. So the wisdom that they come with, seeing that is wicked, they can't just come straight out and say that they're wicked. They have to do it in a shrewd, crafty type of way. It says, neither at any time the counsel of sin is prudent. So the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. And the brother, shalom to the Akim on the comment board, you know, the brother Qadar Shapat put 2 Corinthians 11. That's an excellent scripture, 2 Corinthians 11:3. But I fear, least, by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up here so we can touch on some of those words. 2 Corinthians 11:3. It says, "But I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Yahushua HaMashiach." Because you have a lot of men out there that are very crafty in the way they put their words together. Esau is the main one, but then you have Jake's also. These different pastors and leaders among Jake are like that. They're very crafty in the way that they put their words to deceive the simple. You know, and this is why the Apostle Paul said, "I marvel, I'm puzzled, you know, that you were so easily beguiled. You know, you were so easily fooled, so to speak." There was a scripture that just came to mind. Let's see if this could jar my memory. Okay, dealing with Jake. Okay, Romans 16, and we're going to go straight to the point. The 18th verse. It says, "For they that are such serve not our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, but their own belly." See, because these are Israelites that are leaders that are supposed to be guiding Jake the right way. They're nothing but a bunch of Judas goats. Dr. Eric Freemason, you know, and others. It says, "And by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple." And this is why the Apostle Paul said, don't be stirred in your spirit. You know, don't be beguiled by word or by letter. You know, why? Because you have a lot of men out there that are set up to be beguilers, to be deceivers among Esau, among Jake, you know, among the other nations, but mainly Jake and Esau. All right. So now going back, it says, "But I fear, lest by any means, as a serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety." So let's go to the word beguiled here. See what it is. Matter of fact, let's go to serpent first. Ophis, if I'm saying it right, snake, serpent. But the ancients, the serpent was an emblem of cunning and wisdom. See, it's about cunning and wisdom, and that's why you have something called cunningly devised fables, which is something that was they actually sat down and meditated upon this and actually put their whole heart and mind into it to be able to concoct this this lie. But they had to flavor it. They had to put, you know, scriptures in there. You know, they had to put false doctrines in there, false narratives, use different scriptures. Like I was reading last night, I was reading the book of Mark. I believe it was the 10th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, you know, or the 11th chapter, where it speaks about Yahushua said they shall be cast into hellfire where the worm dieth not. And that's one of the scriptures they would use to try to say, well, see, that's hell. That's talking about a place where you go and, you know, it's eternal judgment, you know, and that's not what they're speaking about. But this is what they do. They'll take scriptures because they know that there's power in the scriptures, and then they'll add their own spin to it and put those fancy words together. And because they have all those accolades and doctorates and all that stuff, people think, oh, wow, this got to be a man of the Lord because they're accepted by Esau. They have their paperwork in order, you know, so on and so forth. Salaki, brothers. Open up this window a little bit. There's some air up in here. There's some air up in here. All right, so now let's go back. It said, oh, I'm sorry. It said the serpent who deceived Eve was regarded by the Jews as the devil. And really what it was an actual man. And they're right. It was the devil. It was Satan. You know, it was the beast. It was a dragon and all that. But it was an actual man, because the spirit of the spiritual demon Satan has sons and daughters on the planet Earth, namely a race of people named the so-called white man, or, you know, so-called white people, which are the Edomites of the Bible. And as you brothers seen, Elder Pastor already jumped on it. That article that came out where the rabbi called Donald Trump an Edomite, and pretty much, you know, we've been saying that, you know, well, I mean, I know Apostle Tahar's been saying that he's either one of the Caesars or Herod, but that's, you know, he's more than likely he might just be Herod himself. because Herod was known for his monumental building skills. You know, and this devil Trump, that's what he's known for. And there's no coincidence they called him an Edomite, you know? So let's go back. All right, so it says, as the serpent beguiled Eve. So let's look up the word beguiled.
Strong's G 1818. Exapatao. Exapatao.
All right, exapatao. It says to deceive, to seduce wholly. Now, you know, this is why the scriptures speak about these different philosophies as a woman. Because, you know, you brothers know when you have a woman that's very alluring, very seductive. She has certain things that she does that gets your juices going, you know. And these women, that's the feminine wiles. They know how to seduce a man. Well, that's the same thing with these different philosophies, and that's the same thing with these individuals, these men out here, whether they're Edomites or Jakes, you know, that have that seducing spirit on them through these different philosophies, ideologies, and religion. You see, so it's witchcraft. It pretty much is nothing but witchcraft, and Jake is steeped in the black arts, man. They're steeped in the black arts, you know. But the thing about it, that today, what you would call black arts, you know, they'll say, well, they're not casting spells, they're not over there, you know, saying Latin incantations and cooking up witches' brews, but they are, but just not in that fashion. Because by them sitting down and trying to formulate, find scriptures to try to debunk the truth, that's exactly what they're doing. They're concocting things. They're putting up incantations because they're praying to sweet Jesus, Caesar Borgia, to give them the knowledge to do what they do. And on top of that, you know, when they sit down at their vomit-filled table and try to put those precepts together, which they're forced to do now, that they're concocting a drug, a witch's brew, to try to deceive. But it's only going to get those that the Lord doesn't want. Because Yahushua said it best, Matthew, I believe that's 24:24, if I'm not mistaken. It says, for there shall arise false anointed, saying, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm of the Lord, I'm this, I'm that, and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. Why? Because they're going to be able to do certain things that's going to mesmerize people. Some just by the speech that they speak. And so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So they're going to be so convincing and so seducing that they will almost deceive the elect. But they won't, because the elect have the eye salve, the elect have the thawa, the elect have that ingredient in them that's given of the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai, not to be deceived, to be able to see through the madness, to be able to see through those cunningly devised fables. All right. So that's for the word seduce, holy, beguile, deceive. So let's go back. So let's say as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety. Let's go to the word subtlety.
Strong's G 3834. Panorgia. Panorgia.
Panorgia. Craftiness, cunning, a specious or false wisdom. See, because you have two types of wisdom. You have righteous wisdom and you have wicked wisdom. You know, when the tree of knowledge of good and evil is the knowledge of good and the knowledge of evil. So you have both. And in order to be a perfect judge, you have to know both. And this is why we fell, to learn both sides of the tree, so that when we are set back up into power, we can be perfect judges. Because not only did we read about righteousness, not only did we read about wickedness, not only were we involved doing righteous things or doing wicked things, you know, we know both sides of the tree, which makes a perfect judge. And I bring this example up from time to time. The judge Mathis, you know, Judge Mathis, you know, what makes him so great of a judge is that he was out there in them streets. He was in them streets, you know, so he knows, he's been around, he's experienced both sides, you know, so he's better equipped as a judge to judge in those matters. Why? Because he's been exercised in both, you know, just as a small matter, you know. I'm not that I'm giving him, you know, any credence or anything like that, because I don't know where his mindset is at as far as the truth is concerned. But if he's in Esau's system, then he's not for the truth unless he's a secret disciple. And I'll just leave it at that. It says, in a good sense, prudence, skill, and undertaking and carrying on affairs. So that's subtlety. And your mind should be corrupted. Let's see, corrupted.
Strong's G 5351. Thyro,
to corrupt, to destroy. The opinion of the Jews, the temple was corrupted or destroyed when anyone defiled or in the slightest degree damaged anything in it of its or of its guardians neglected their duties. Yeah, and this is pretty much the truth also. This is why we're made watchmen, and we're supposed to watch. And if there's any leaven, the leaven has to be spiritually stomped out. Whether the individual that's bringing it in gets reprimanded, rebuked, or gets casted out. Because the truth has to remain pure. It can't be defiled, because the scriptures say that no lie is of the truth. It says to lead away a Christian church from that state of knowledge and holiness in which it ought to abide. Why? That's your first love. To be destroyed, to perish, in an ethical sense, to corrupt, deprave. So let's go back. That your mind should be corrupted. See, the minds, because it starts with the mind. Once the mind is corrupted, then the rest of the body will follow. Let's go to the book of Titus, chapter 1, verse 15. It says, I'm sorry, 14. Not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. You know, and this is always around. This is something that's always around. Deception and beguiling and seducing spirits and all this stuff is always around. I was watching, I'm not sure if I watched the whole thing, but I was watching some of the video that the brother Shaman here from the New York camp did. There's a war on your souls or something along those lines, you know, and that's the truth. And the war on your souls is what? This spirits trying to pull us out of the truth, you know? And this is why we have to pray. Whatever we got to do, pray, beg, plead, kick, you know, throw ourselves on the ground, cry out to the Lord, whatever it is, just to be able to stay attached to the spiritual umbilical cord, you know, so that we can be delivered in that time. It says, unto the pure, all things are pure, but unto them that are defiled and unbelieving is nothing pure, but even their mind and conscience is defiled. So their mind and conscience is defiled. See, it says they profess that they know the Most High, like Dr. Eric Freemason, but in works they deny him. Why? Because he's teaching plantation Christianity, being abominable. He doesn't realize that he's being abominable, and if he does realize that he's being abominable, he's a real filthy individual and disobedient. Because through the Spirit of the Lord is speaking to them, telling them the right way, but they're fighting against the Spirit. They're kicking against the pricks. And the Lord will destroy them. And unto every good work reprobate, because they're reprobate concerning the faith. They're reprobate concerning every good work. And the word reprobate simply means to be void of wisdom. You know? So let's go back to let's see, simplicity. That'll be the last word we look. Haplotas, singleness. See, what did the scripture say? If thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Simplicity, because the words of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai are very simple, very clear, very concise. You know, nothing complicated about it. But when these individuals that call themselves doctors and you know and different names that they call themselves to be able to teach the Bible, you know, like the brother said, Bishop Bacon. I was cracking up when the brother said that, you know, but they make things complicated. When you listen to these individuals, like your head starts to hurt because it's so bugged out and they make it so complicated. But they do that so that the average person can't get it, so that they can stay in that position that they're in, because that position gives them wealth, because they give them that false understanding. All right, so this is Proverbs 8:8. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing forward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. So the truth is very simple, very plain. This is why we read about what? The simplicity that's in Yahushua. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 14. And see, this is how you know that them guys don't know the Bible, because if they did, they would not try to use all those big theological terms and break things down plainly, which they're not going to do. Matter of fact, Habakkuk 2. Let's go back here. 1 Corinthians 14:8. It says, for if a trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? Yeah, because this is a battle. This is a spiritual war that's being waged here. And if the trumpet is sounding in a melodious party way, who's going to get ready? Like this Lord said, that they have not gone into the hedges, into the gaps. You know, they have not gone up into the hedges, into the gaps. Let's go there real quick. Isaiah. I'm sorry, not Isaiah. I got Isaiah on the brain today. Ezekiel 13:4. O Israel, thy prophets are like the foxes in the deserts. And the fox in the desert is what? Sly, conniving, you know, looking for the prey, hunting the prey down. But it's not just going to come out and just, you know, say, look, I'm looking for you. It's gonna sneak around till they finally gets the prey. And that's what these devils like Dr. Eric Freemason are doing. You know, just like that's why Yahushua called Herod the fox. Tell that fox, you know, because he was being deceptive, because he wasn't a Jew. He wasn't an Israelite, but he was playing like he was. And Jake back then knew, you know. It says, yeah, when you're dealing with the new moon, you know, maybe a brother, you know, could do a lesson on that. You could, when you're dealing with the new moon, when the new moon comes in, that's the first day of the month, the first day, which is a Sabbath, and then you will count 6 days, and then the 7th day would be the next Sabbath. So in other words, day 1, new moon, 6 days, and then the 7th day, which would be actually the 8th day, that'll be the next Sabbath. And then 7 days after that, the next Sabbath, 7 days after that. All right. Hope that answers your question, brother. It says, O Israel, thy prophets are like the foxes in the deserts. You have not gone up into the gaps. See, so they haven't gone up into the gaps. They haven't, because right now, even though the truth is out there, you still have Israelites out there that don't know that they're Israelites and are not being brought back to their fold, not being brought back to their prospective tribe. You know, so there's still breaches. There's still breaches out there, you know, that are separating or putting a wedge between the different tribes out there. Okay, it says no, the Sabbath for this month is Saturday night to Sunday night, because when the new moon came in, it came in on Saturday night. All right. So it says, you have not gone up into the gaps, neither made up the hedge for the house of Israel to stand in the battle in the day of the Lord. So there's a battle being waged, and the day of the Lord is coming. So Jake has to be prepared for what's coming, because what's coming, you know, is going to be very detrimental. And this is why the Lord said, let's go real quick, Isaiah 33:6. It says, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. So if you fear the Lord, you're going to get involved. You're going to do the best that you can, you know, because this is where you're going to get the knowledge and the wisdom to be stable in the times that are coming, to receive salvation, because this word is salvation. See, the keeping of this word is salvation. You're welcome, brother, Ayundabar. All right, so now going back here, it says, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, back in 1 Corinthians 14:8, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, Who shall prepare himself to the battle? So nobody's going to be prepared if you're not giving them the right battlements, the right weapons, which the weapons is spiritual weapons, you know, the Bible. And the Bible has everything. You have the shield of faith, you have the helmet of salvation, you have the breastplate, you know, of righteousness, you have the sword of the Lord, which is the word of the Lord, you know, your feet being shod with the preparation of the gospel. So from head to toe will be fully girded in the spirit to be able to fight these spiritual battles. So when Satan comes with his BS, we can battle it with what? With the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because when Satan came to Yahweh Shai, did Yahweh Shai put a suplex on him? Did he do a go-go plata on him? Did he put him in a figure four? You know, did he do a half Nelson on him, or whatever the hell those different terms are? You know, did he put him in the guillotine? Did he put Satan in the guillotine? No, he battled him with the words, because Satan was coming at him with the words of the Lord, and Yahweh Shai was battling back with the words of the Lord. Which shows you that these people out here that's into plantation Christianity, they got the devil on them. They got Satan on them, because they're using the same book, and they're beguiling unstable souls. Matter of fact, did we finish that? Romans, was that in Romans? Just bear with me one second. Unstable. 2 Peter 2:14. No, it was a different scripture. It says, having eyes full of adultery, because you have a lot of adultery going on in these churches, and also you have a lot of spiritual adultery, because when they're bowing down to sweet Jesus and plantation Christianity, they're committing adultery against Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and they cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls. And the word beguiling is what? To trick, to be crafty. And the unstable souls are those that are not grounded and rooted. That's why it's so very important to be grounded and rooted in this truth. Otherwise, you're going to get swept out, you know, with those winds, with those different doctrines, those different philosophies. Matter of fact, let me get, is that Colossians 2? This is a good one, but that's not the one. Is it Ephesians? I think it's Ephesians 4. Building on the word. Yep. So let's go back here. So that having eyes full of adultery that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, because they are cursed. So all of these Israelites that are seared with that plantation Christianity, they're cursed children, and the Lord is going to destroy them, because King David put a curse on them. You know, which is really Yahweh Shai putting a curse on them, because all these words represent Yahweh Shai. So King David, speaking in the spirit, put a curse on Israel, that they can't receive this truth, that they would be blinded, that this should be for their welfare, should become a stumbling block unto them. All right. So they're cursed children, and they're beguiling unstable souls, because those souls are not rooted in the truth. They don't have the anchor of faith in the truth. And when those lies and those that refuse starts flying around, they get caught up into it. This is why you had those individuals that got caught up in that flat earth doctrine. And what happened? They ended up being swept out by that flat earth thing, because it came in, and as soon as it came in, it went right back out. It came in, took those with them, and went right back out. And when it went right back out, some followed it. That's them seducing spirits. So Ephesians 4, and I'll start at 12. For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. And this is why it's so important to have, matter of fact, I started 11. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints. Why? Because there is a war. Like the brother said, Shaman said, there is a war out there for your souls, for all of our souls. But with this truth, having the proper teachers to teach you, you know, this is for the perfecting of the saints, so that the saints can dig in, have their roots dug in so deep in this thing that no matter how how much them winds blow. There could be hurricane winds, cyclones, typhoons, but they'll be unmovable. Why? Because they're planted and founded upon a rock, which is Yahweh Shai. That's why it says no other foundation can anyone lay but that which is laid, which is Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. It says for the work of the ministry. So the saints have to be perfected for the work of the ministry, for the work of this, because we're servants, you know. And Yahweh Shai said, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray that the Lord of the harvest that he sent laborers into his vineyard. So we need the laborers in the vineyard to help take on this load, especially when that influx comes in. Okay, it says for the edifying of the body of Yahweh Shai, which is what? The word edify means to build. For the building of the body of Yahweh Shai, because the Apostle Paul said how he is pained until Yahweh Shai be formed in you. Because once Yahweh Shai is formed in us, then that's the roots start going deep. Like you have certain vegetation that roots go down like 75 to 100 feet into the ground. You know, so that those roots are stable. They're not going anywhere. You know, so that's how we have to be in this truth, for the roots to keep going deeper and deeper, you know, and growing in this truth more and more. It says, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, unto a perfect man. In what? In knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Yahweh Shai, because Yahweh Shai got the full measure. We all got pieces and bits of it, but all the pieces and bits together make the whole. That's why you have all the different components of the body to work together in what's called the synergy. Many different components working for one purpose. It says that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro. And you have individuals like this. They're tossed to and fro. Why? Because they're unstable souls, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men. See, so they're carried with the winds of doctrine, because these winds of doctrine, they'll come in and they'll go right out. They'll be there for a minute, then they'll go right out. And you have different doctrines that have come and gone. You know, that black consciousness was another wind of doctrine that came in, swept certain guys out with it. You know? So all these different doctrines, these are them seducing spirits that the Apostle Paul spoke in the spirit that were becoming. It says by the sleight of men. Let's go to sleight. You heard the term sleight of hand, right? Kubeya, dice playing. Metaphorically, the deception of men, because dice players sometimes cheated and defrauded their fellow players. That's right. Like you have that, was that 3-card Molly? And there's a trick, you know, when you're holding the cards and you're throwing the cards around, you're thinking that they're throwing the top card, you know, or the bottom card, but they're switching it up. So when you go to place your bet, it's a sleight of hand. You think you've seen one thing, but it was something else. And that's how these different individuals out here are. These different philosophies and doctrines. So it says that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro, because children are like that. Children are fickle. You know, children, that's why it says train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he should not depart from it. Why? Because children, they're very gullible. They're very impressionable. It says, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. And that's dealing with Israelites. And this is also dealing with Esau, because Esau is the same way. They're very cunning and crafty. So going back to 1 Corinthians 14:8, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself for the battle? So likewise, you utter by the tongue words easy to be understood. How shall it be known what is spoken? For you shall speak into the air. Yeah, so you have to be able to break it down in layman's terms. Because the people that we're teaching, that the Lord is drawn to them, are considered to be common. They're not considered to be no university grads, you know, from them different colleges. All right, so we're dealing with a basic understanding people. Okay, which is where the Lord dwells with, because he doesn't all that other stuff. Not, it's scripture say, not many noble, you know, not many wise, you know, shall be delivered. Because the Lord don't need all of that. All right. So let's go back. That was singleness, haplatos. So that was 2 Corinthians 11 and 3. We'll read that again. But I fear, least by any means, as a serpent beguiled Eve through its subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Yahweh Shai. You know, and this devil is being very crafty in the way that he's setting up this whole thing on the for the microchip to be implemented. He's going through all lengths, you know, to put all different stuff into place to keep everything on a biometric thing, to get rid of paper and everything, so that everything could be on the books. And that'll be the easiest way for them to push that chip, because that's the ultimate goal. So back to Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord power had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath the Most High said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High have said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die, which he lied. It says, for the Most High doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil, which that's true. But it wasn't time for that. And the point here was to follow and obey what the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai put down, which they didn't do back then. But notice that the serpent went to the woman, because a woman is a weaker vessel. But these women, they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna accept that. Majority of women ain't gonna accept that. Weaker vessel. You are the weaker vessel. You know, this is why, you know, you have women that come on the comment board, which is cool. If they say shalom or the water, you know, stuff like that, that's cool. You know, you have this one sister that comes on there. She puts crowns, you know, on brothers' pages. There's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. But then, you know, you have one woman, I had to curse her out. She came on the comment where she was putting comment after comment after comment after comment after comment. And I told her in the live show, I said, look, you're going to have to cut all them comments out. You're doing too much talking on the comment board. Because these women that claim to be in the truth, they be the worst ones. You know? You're not supposed to do something, but you're going to do it anyway. You know, I mean, we're not perfect, of course. We're going to go off. But, you know, but there's certain things that you could keep. You know, and this is why years ago, the Apostle Tar put an order out that no women was to come to the school. Because women are a distraction, you know, and they don't follow instructions very well. But you do have those sisters out there that do the best that they can. You know, and if you fall into that category, keep on doing the best that you can, sisters, because, you know, eventually the Lord will deliver you. You know? All right, so going back. All right, Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So now let's go back to the video.
Some people have, especially after all the recent cyber attacks.
Breaking news, the FBI just announced charges in what it calls a staggering series of cyber attacks.
But should we be concerned about our biometric data? I learned the company has been certified by the Department of Homeland Security as anti-terrorism technology.
We're put under a rigorous set of...
See, anti-terrorism, right? What did they say? Let's go back a little bit.
Technology.
We're put under a rigorous set of requirements by the government.
But should we be concerned about our biometric data? I learned the company has been certified by the Department of Homeland Security as anti-terrorism technology.
Anti-terrorism technology. But now, what is the definition of terrorism? See, anybody could be labeled a terrorist, because you have what? Homegrown terrorism, as they put it. You know? And all this different stuff. There was just a situation here in Connecticut where this individual for a white supremacist group sent threats out to Trump, you know, some other stuff that they were talking about. I don't really remember all the specifics, but that's all pushing the idea of homegrown terrorism, dissidents, and things of that nature. So whoever they deem to be a terrorist, that's who the terrorist is. So they will consider Julian Assange to be a terrorist, and all he did was just expose shit that they were doing. So how is he a terrorist for that?
We're put under a rigorous set of requirements by the government, and we've checked out with all of them, and we passed all the requirements that they put upon us. So, you know, we do all that we can to keep your data safe and secure.
Security expert Adam Coffrin says this is the future.
Society as a whole is moving towards the technology of being really paperless and using things that are harder to fraud at this time, fingerprints and faces.
Coffrin goes on to say that our biometrics are everywhere.
It's easier to counterfeit a paper ID with holograms and some of the security measures, which for TSA, if they're moving people too quickly, might not catch a really good fake or really good fraudulent identification. Whereas with Clear, they're using.
So why the hell are they in place then? If they're supposed to be avoiding these this is a fucking big scam, you know, and everything is for regulation. It's a big scam. You know, this is a way now you have the government has another agency, TSA, that the government gets paid from. It's all a big scam, man. That's how Esau operates. That's how the devil gets down.
Your biometrics is much harder to try to fraud or to fake a fingerprint in an eye scan or face scan than it is a paper document.
The company claims they will never sell or share your data, but Clear does pay the airport to rent line space. That means for those who don't join Clear, the lines leading to the TSA checkpoint could get longer.
See, as a matter of what? Convenience. 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 You don't want to sit in that line too long? Get Clear. So you can be cleared.
Okay, so Clear is not only at airports, they're also at sports stadiums, including the Bank of California. That's where the LAFC plays. They're also at music venues across the country. And as I mentioned in the story, it's a company that will likely continue to grow.
Right, because they're pushing for the microchip, which is the mark of the beast.
Jeff?
You know, Chris, disclosure, I do have Clear and TSA. But
and you're going to get the chip too?
I don't remember how much it costs because I went it through my husband. So can you tell us?
Yeah, so it's an annual membership, and it'll cost you anywhere from $79 to $179. Reporting live from LAX, I'm Chris Holmstrup.
All right, so now what I want to do, building off of that, is go to the book of Revelation 13 and 16. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Because as you see, you brothers that have your eyes open, what they're doing is they're gathering your information, not just your signature, you know, your history, you know, your everything that you have out there that tells them who you are, but they're doing also they're getting your biometric information, they're getting your DNA, and all of this falls under the category of what? Information. And this is a part of the mark of the beast, because you have, for the word mark, the mark, which is charagma, that's the microchip, something implanted. The root word to that, charax, that's the pail that has a point in it, and that represents the syringe that they inject into you. So you have the mark charagma, which is the chip. You have the charax, which is the syringe. And then what do you have on that chip? Information. And that falls under the root word of charax, which is grapho, which is where you get the word graph, which means to write. It says to write with reference to the form of the letters, to delineate or form words or letters on a tablet, parchment, paper, or other material. In this case, other material, which is what? The microchip. To write with reference to the contents of the writings, to express in written characters, to commit to writing things not to be forgotten. Write down, record. So this is a record. Write down, record. You know, this is the record that's being put into these chips. So all three of those root words, or all three of those Greek words, go into this microchip. From the microchip itself, charagma, to charax, which is the syringe, to grapho, which is the information that's put into those chips. Because they're not just going to put a chip in you. They have to connect that chip to you. And how they're going to connect that chip to you? By putting your information into that chip. Everything, your medical record, your criminal record, your your history, where you were born, where you came from, what race you are, you know, your financial records, you know, whatever hospital records you have, if you have any allergies, everything is going to be on there. All right. It says, use of those things which stand written in the sacred books of the Old Testament. But in this case, to commit to writing things not to be forgotten. Because people forget things, you know, you forget your passport, you forget this, you forget that. So the convenience of it is that if you take this microchip, everything could be on there. Just one, you don't need a wallet with 10 to 20 different credit cards and license and social security cards and birth certificate. Everything will be neatly packaged in this one little about the grain of a size size of a grain of rice. All your information will be in there, and you can be clear when you go through clear. See, so these devils, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. It says to write to one an example by writing in a written epistle to give information direction, to fill with writing, to draw up in writing, compose. And they're making these devices that they have so very, very small, like that nanotechnology, you know, and even smaller than that, but that are able to hold a lot of information. And this is what it is. You know, these devils are moving. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's up to us to do what we're supposed to keep doing and keep on teaching this word and keep on warning. Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievousness which they have prescribed. And they are putting all this stuff into writing, into law. And this is why you have what's known as the Real ID Act, which I got this from Elder Yashawamba, what it means state by state, requirements, and everything else you need to know. And that both of these are in the description box if you want to read further. But I want to, in the interest of time, I want to just come down here to actual, right here, Real ID Act, state by state status. And this is all the places, wherever you see green, this is all in compliance. They all are set up to accept this. You know, they already got it. So the majority of the United States is already in compliance with the Real ID Act. The gray areas here, as you see, light gray, those are the ones that are these have extensions. So in other words, they haven't complied yet, but they extended, and their extensions, some of them go, and right here it says October 10, 2019. Maine is 2019 October. So these have been extended to 2019, and they're saying they may extend it longer. And the only one that has not really gotten involved so far is California, which is under review. So eventually they're gonna get it also. See? So there you go. Under review, extensions, in compliance. So the majority of the United States is already set up for this Real ID, which is one step closer to the mark of the beast, which is a microchip. And then you have Clear, which is a biometric passport now, which allows you just to be able to scan your retina or scan your thumbprint or your fingerprints and go through and board your flight without having to get in them long lines. And that's just making more room or room for the microchip. Because if they could scan your eye, if they could scan your thumbprints or your fingerprints, you don't think they have the technology there to scan a chip, a microchip? It's all gradualism. Matter of fact, let's get that. Gradualism. Gradualism from the Latin gradus, step. So it's a step-by-step step-by-step thing. Now it says is a hypothesis. They're saying it's a hypothesis. It's not a hypothesis. It's the truth. It says a theory or tenet, assuming that change comes about gradually, or that variation is gradual in nature and happens over time, as opposed to in large steps. And it is, because they give it to you in increments. You know, little at a time. Suggestion here, suggestion there. Because years ago, when you would watch movies, you didn't really have that much homosexual stuff in the movies. you know, in different shows. Now everything you watch has a homosexual innuendos in it. But it was a gradual thing. They'll throw a little something here and a little something there. People be like, you know. But then eventually, after a while, you be like, oh boy, here we go. Then eventually, it just became accepted to where everything. Like I was watching that series, brothers that haven't seen it. It's no big deal. It's pretty much crap. 7 seconds on Netflix. You know, there's a series on there, and pretty much in there, they had to throw that homosexual shit in there. You know. In everything that you see, everything that you watch, you know, they have another series, their Containment. They had to throw some homosexual shit in that. And this is you talking about a virus, you know, something that's serious, you know, quarantining people, but you had to throw that homosexual shit in there because it's gradual. But then they'll say here, no, that's not it's just a hypothesis. It's a theory, you know? No, it's not a theory. It's fact. Because that homosexual thing is in cartoons, it's on TV shows, it's in movies, it's everywhere. So much that these homosexuals at one time, they were in the closet with it. Now they're out there, they're proud as hell. And dare you to say something to them about it. Now it's to the point where it's almost against the law to be a straight man or a straight woman. So this place got to go, man. It's got to go. So these devils are the ones that are doing this, you know. And then what they'll do is they'll put this stuff into place in the law, so that they can justify coming after us, you know, for not accepting it, you know, because they force it's voluntary now, but eventually it'll become mandatory, because even in here it speaks about the places that are compliant. But there's no coincidence that, like I told a story before, how I went, and I believe it was 2012, I renewed my license, and I noticed on my license from that point the next renewal wasn't until the year 2020. I was like, oh wow, so I'm good, you know. But that's because 2020, that's where they want to bring in that Real ID Act. So these devils know what they're doing, man. And as you see here, the majority of the United States is in compliance with it. One under review, California, and a couple of extensions. But for the most part, everybody's in compliance. So everything is all set up. Those different kiosks, you know, those different where you pay, you know, pay for your goods. Everybody's paying by their phone, by credit cards, and everybody now is moving to their phone, to their smartphone, paying by smartphone. This is all a method of gradualism. And this is all leading to the mark of the beast, which once again, you have charagma, which is the microchip. You have charax, which is the root word of that, which is the syringe. And then the root word of charax is grapho, which is the writings or the records that are stored in what? In the mark of the beast, which is the microchip. You know? So with that, you know, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say, Shalom.